Further ado, hello and welcome to another episode of Munster Hunters, the goddamn only show in all of podcast history to say F you to Netflix and the crew. I'm watching a 60-year-old sitcom about a Frankenstein monster and his grotesque family. My name is Derek, and I am a Munster Hunter. With me at the table of hunting is Keith. Keith, what's up?
Hey, my name is Keith, and I, too, am a Munster Hunter.
And then also at the table, he brought the mashed potatoes because it's Thanksgiving, is Terry.
Yep, that's me. I'm the, not Yuletide. What would be a good description for Thanksgiving? I'm the thankful Terry.
The thankful Terry. Yeah, I am the stuffed happy. Derek, the thankful Terry, and the carving Keith.
Yeah.
We are the Munster Hunters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a Munster Hunter, and I'm here. Exciting. Finally, we're back to watch yet another classic episode.
It is a classic episode.
They're all classic episodes.
Well, I guess at this point, just by definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's an antique. Well, yeah, the shit's old, right? It's 50 years old. It's an antique. Would you call it a good one? No. Would you call this a good classic? No. But it's the Munsters, right? I think after watching today's episode, I think the Munsters are going to find a groove from here on out.
Okay.
But we'll see.
I hope so.
We'll see. But before we do that, how are you guys doing? Anything new, exciting on the horizon? The behind you horizon? Is that the past? Is that what you call the behind you?
Behind me, I glance behind me every once in a while to make sure there's not like a Frankenstein's monster leering in my window. Record.
I thought about that for far too long from the last episode. How just perverted he looked, right? and not even a sexual perverted. He was just perverse. He's just like, I'm gonna get that turkey and do bad stuff to it. I'm gonna eat that turkey.
Yeah, it's that is horrific imagery. Sometimes they like to play on those like tropes of horror, like the old school Universal horror. That was like something you would see straight out of one of those movies, like just the Frankenstein monster leering in.
Yeah,
he's like making faces. You don't quite understand why he's making them, but it's not good.
I just thought of something we forgot to talk about in the last episode was because they used that same footage again. At the part where Herman hears himself doing the voiceover, there is no voiceover the second time. He didn't even bother to put it in like, and we're back here again. And you see him like looking around. Nope.
Now you know why. How I got here. My family was a bunch of jerks.
Oh boy. Well, yeah. I don't know. What were we talking about before? I had a non sequitur that I had to edit out.
That's what was going on. We're all thankful.
Oh, yeah, you're thankful that there's a Frankenstein monster peering in the window behind you. Keith, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful that there is a Frankenstein monster actually peering at me.
Oh, you're thankful for the monster peering at you?
Well, it's an updated home security system thing that I put in recently, so it's fine.
Frankenstein? It's like ADF. I don't know what the AD stands for, but the F stands for Frankenstein.
He's
instead of the ADT, yeah.
Always dare Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's got a good military background. So it's great. He's out there scaring away anybody who comes by. Occasionally even scaring me and my family away too.
Yeah. I would be frightened. Well, I'm telling you what.
A lot of our flowers are wilted, I will say that.
Yeah, so. Maybe that explains why you can't grow anything in your garden.
No.
Or flowers.
And we had a mirror delivered the other day and it broke right away. I was very upset. Yeah.
Was it broken on arrival or did you hang it up and then did it break?
I know the guys were carrying it in the house right past the the monster that I hired for home security, and they looked right at it and broke.
Oh, you actually have a monster. I get it now. You have a Frankenstein in your house as security.
He's outside. He's outside walking around. He just is peering into the window, which is why I'm fine with it.
Walks. Yeah. See, in my mind, I pictured like a camera system, and on the other end of the camera were Frankenstein's watching. Like when you call ADT or ADT calls you, it's Frankenstein. And you're like, hello. It's like, we detected some weird movement in your backyard, and you're like, oh, call the police.
No. I hired one.
Frankenstein who walks around. Okay.
I like that.
Confidence. Yeah, when you see like a mirror broken in your house, that's when you know the Frankenstein's been doing his job, because he's looking around, he's seeing things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of sucked though, because the guys were trying to deliver it. He looked at it while they were delivering it, never even made it into the house, but they were like, look, that's not on us, that's you. So I had to pay for it and buy a whole new one. It's very upsetting, but that's... I just dock his pay a little bit. He'll be fine.
So let's crack the spine on the Munster Hunters Almanac.
All right. So we did take a break from doing, kind of going through the main cast last week, talk about the overall smoking issue that was going on set. But we're going to jump back in this week and we're going to talk about Marilyn. But specifically, we're going to talk about Beverly Owen really quick. She was Marilyn. She was Marilyn for the first season of the Munsters. So the first season, the show does really well. It's nominated at that time for an Emmy Award, things like that. And she's only there in the first 13 episodes. She was so unhappy playing that role. That says here that Fred Gwynn and Al Lewis, they had to convince Universal to release her from her contract and let her go, as opposed to just having her sit there and be absolutely like completely miserable. The two main guys had to go and like put their foot down about this. So she's only in the, and when you go to like IMDb, it lists like best known for playing, for playing Marilyn Munster. That is like the main thing that she's known for, apparently, like, because then she doesn't do anything for a while. And then in 1972, she comes back and plays Dr. Paula McRae for 9 months on Another World. So I don't like, it seems like maybe she thought she wanted to be an actress. But then it just, after a bit, she was like, yeah, no, this isn't for me. But I find that's the most interesting thing here is that I really find it odd that she was she was a star on a very big hit TV show, and she was just like, I don't want to be here anymore.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard this, and this could be totally not correct, and I'm just going to parrot what I heard. She was married, and they wanted to have a family.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would make plenty of sense.
But I could be wrong. Yeah. I like, or it could just be a terrible work environment, totally smoky. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be bad. Yeah, I hope it wasn't like just horrible on set. Hopefully, hopefully it was some other reason.
I'm gonna say it probably has to go along more with what Derek mentioned, because if the two big stars of the show then went to Universal and like, hey, come on, guys, you gotta let her out of this, and let her go. She's completely unhappy here. So I don't think she was unhappy with like who she was working with and stuff. But like I don't know. I'm trying to think if that's something that ever happened. Like I can't think of like another time when like somebody on like a really big show was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore, and
George
just kind of walked
Clooney
off.
On ER.
But did he leave because he just like didn't like doing it, or because he was just like, yeah, I'm off to bigger things?
Same thing, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah. No, she just went and like stopped acting for a while and went, I guess had family. So like, but she just stopped her overall thing as opposed to like moving on and becoming a massive, huge movie star.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Just, her bigger.
It's all relative.
Just her family, I guess. Oh, if that's the case, yeah. Who knows? That's interesting though. Yeah, because that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, and then she is replaced and we can. There's not a lot of other details of like what anything else that Beverly Owen did, but she is then replaced by Pat Priest, who is like looks practically identical. Like it is like, and I'm very so like now we have Twitter and everything. So if something like this happened today, people would like there'd be tons of conversation about it. Back then, you really didn't have anything like that. I mean, people would talk at home or whatever. But I'd love to have known what it was like to have like when season 2 started.
It's huge.
Like when season 2 started and suddenly Beverly Owen's not there. Like what is this? Like, and just suddenly having somebody completely new in there. Like how would that play out for like people watching at home? But like, did they even notice?
Well, what about when Roseanne changed Becky's and Sarah Chalk took over?
I'm sure that probably, I don't remember that, but I didn't watch a lot of Roseanne. So,
same thing, I think.
Yeah, same basic concept. But yeah, there was no like outlet, I don't think, for people to like really talk about that much at the time.
The people of the 60s were deprived of Twitter.
But not even just like Twitter, like any like I mean, okay, I guess maybe at the water cooler, the following day, like people sitting around talking about it.
Yeah, maybe they have like a Munsters watch party club they go to every week.
When they're down at the parlor, maybe they're talking about it.
The elite of the elite.
But that's all I have. Let me close up.
Oh, you're gonna close up? You have a lovely book you closed. Holy cow.
I had to close up the almanac.
Now I'm going to have to go on freesound.org and find the sound of a book closing.
What do you mean? That sounded perfect.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah, we'll just get it. Oh.
Was that better?
No, that's all right.
I don't know. I'm sure you could also find some good scuba sounds too.
No, I don't need a scuba sound. I need a scuba sound because we've taken the boat out to the depths, the darkest, bluest part of the sea.
The deepest.
We put on the gear. We've fallen in. Skooma,
the deepest part of the Munster
underwater
Sea.
Munster apparatus.
Will I be planting depth charges this time? Will I just be casually exploring the deep? I don't know. But we'll just talk about, this episode, Tin Can Man. It was directed by Earl Bellamy. Earl has 133 acting credits, going from 1954 to 1991. He's done a ton of TV. His bio on IMDb actually stated that he's directed more than 1,600 episodes of TV, which that's insane.
1,600?
Yeah.
He's according to this, it looks like he's doing like, he does like 5 to 10 episodes of like so many different like well-known shows. Like he did 29 of The Lone Ranger.
Yeah, he'll stick around for a while for big shows.
He's got 82 episodes of Bachelor Father.
Yes.
I've never even heard of that show.
Apparently a lot of episodes.
Yeah, he seems to do a lot of stuff here. There's a show called Pistols and Petticoats. That's weird.
He did 7 episodes of The Munsters. This is the first one we've seen, though. He had a nickname also, which I thought was kind of interesting. On IMDb listed, it was called No Strain. That was his nickname.
What was his full name again?
His name is Earl Bellamy.
Earl No Strain Bellamy.
Yep. And I guess the reason for that was because this was kind of his motto on set. He always wanted everything to feel really relaxed, no pressure, He wanted his actors to feel super comfortable. Yeah, and eventually he retired from directing, and he became the head of production for Universal Pictures and Television.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's quite the career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No strain, all the gain, you might say.
Oh, no strain, all gain. Ed Bellamy.
You didn't have to dive too deep for that one.
Wait, was it Ed Bellamy? What was his name?
Earl Bellamy.
Earl Bellamy. Wasn't Ed Bellamy the guy from MTV?
No, Bill Bellamy.
Bill Bellamy. That's what it was.
The teleplay was by Norm Liveman and Ed Haas. Maybe you've heard of them from our
we've heard of these guys.
So something interesting to the story was by Robert Lewin. So yeah, we've all heard about Norm and Ed. So blah blah blah. Big names in the Munsters.
Yep.
They developed episodes. We don't need to go into them too much. But Robert Lewin, he was both a producer and a writer. He had the story by credit for this episode. And he's, written a few other TV show episodes. He's helped kind of create stories for. He's got that credit story by on quite a few other shows. He did some Star Trek, Next Generation, Kung Fu, Mission Impossible. Those are the ones I recognized. And he did direct one film. It was called Third of a Man back in 1962. And it's one of his earliest credits as well.
Third of a Man.
A third of a man.
Like 1/3? Third?
A third of a man. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it's about. It's one of those movies where there's not much on it. But the IMDb synopsis was very weird. I'm just going to read it verbatim.
Okay.
Third of a Man, as in general do all movies, offers a peek back at how mental illnesses were misperceived and at times punished through misperceptions. The story offers a redemptive conclusion.
Ooh. That sounds actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird way to summarize a plot, but also it's like, yeah, okay.
I was hoping it was about a torso with a head. Solving crimes, maybe.
No, it sounded, I don't know. It sounded kind of dark. I was looking for more info on it. I think it's supposed to be about a guy. His brother's in a mental institution and not treated well. You know the drill. Yeah. But there's a redemptive conclusion, so probably works out somewhat.
Yeah, hopefully so.
So for this episode is kind of weird because there wasn't really any guest stars specifically listed. I don't really even understand what dictates a guest star. Do you guys have any idea? Is it just?
I think it's just a big name.
A big name, okay.
Yeah, or just anybody. I guess in this case, it's anybody outside of that initial cast.
Okay.
Because there were 2 people in this one at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I did. I picked just the random 2. Even my DVD player, this guy have say who it is on each episode description, and this one was just blank. It said there's no guest stars at all. So kind of weird. I don't know, but in my opinion, Arch Johnson as Mr. Taggart and Dick Simmons as Mr. Balding would be the guest stars.
Yeah, those are the 2.
Mm-hmm. Arch Johnson has 144 acting credits on IMDb, and it went from 1953 to 1990. He'd done a lot of TV. He's even done some stage acting. He was in the original production of West Side Story.
Wow.
And he even contributed to its revival in the 80s as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
what about the revival last year?
I believe he's dead.
Oh,
yeah.
So.
Well, he contributed in spirit. What if he haunted the set? That'd be great.
Oh, I believe it. This guy was dedicated to that show.
Yep.
And he also he was on Wonder Woman, Kung Fu, Bewitched. He was a few different characters on Bewitched, and on Bonanza, same deal. A bunch of different characters, but was on there a few times.
He was on
Dick
Bat
Simmons?
Masterson.
Was he really? Oh boy,
Yeah.
it's a callback.
Mm-hmm.
Igor would be pleased to know that.
That's the only reason I looked it up.
Dick Simmons has 112 acting credits listed. That goes from 1936 to 1971.
Was Dick Simmons
he had
the
a lot
guy?
of. Yep, he was the guy who played
Balding.
the principal,
Yeah.
Mr. Balding. Yeah.
Was he balding for real?
No,
No.
he was also Richard Simmons when he played this part.
Was he really Dick Simmons as Richard Simmons? Nice.
I wonder if he had. At what point in time does he have to change it? Because obviously he's a lot older than Richard Simmons.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
And even like he was born in 1913. Yeah, I would think why didn't Richard Simmons change his name to Dick Simmons?
But yeah, Dick Simmons, he's had a lot of smaller parts. He was in a lot of movies in the 40s, a lot of them uncredited, and he took a break from acting to serve as a flight officer in World War II.
Oh,
his
with
career,
Herman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he might have teamed up with Herman himself, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't know. But But he came back to acting, kind of did a lot of the same stuff, smaller roles for movies and TV. One notable role, though, that he was in, he was the star of a show called Sergeant Preston of the Yukon, where he played Sergeant Preston. It's about
I thought he played the Yukon.
No, he patrols the Yukon as a Canadian Mountie with his horse Rex and his dog Yukon King, where he fights the elements and criminals.
Oh, does he fight like a physical manifestation of the elements, or does he just like snow and rain and stuff?
I like to believe that, there's some sort of like
fights an
weather
earth golem
creature
in episode 8.
An elemental of lightning comes down. Yeah, there were 78 episodes of the show, so I'm sure they ran out of ideas at some point.
There's an episode called The Criminal Collie.
Ooh, evil dog episode.
Yeah. Oh, I think I found out what we're doing once we get done with the Munsters.
That episode of Mountie Man. Whatever
the
it's
whole
called.
Series, 78 episodes.
78 episodes, man. That's run.
Pretty good. And he eventually retired, and he ended up managing a mobile home park, so that's fun.
That's wild.
Wow.
It's like such a hard 180.
Yeah.
Right? I was the titular character in a relatively long-running television series. Mm-hmm. Now I collect your rent at the mobile home park.
Yeah, and you got at least one guy in the mobile home park who's like, "Oh, come on, do the Sergeant Preston for me. Come on, do it."
Maybe once. After a while, it probably gets old.
Wikipedia had his life in like 3 sections: early life, his career, and then like his ending life. Ending life was like 2 sentences, and like one of the last sentences was, before he died, he was managing a mobile home park. I was like, "Oh,
man, wild."
Yeah. So, all right. But yeah, that's all I got. So I guess we can slowly rise our way out for air.
Well, that was a skooma. I got the bends. I got them Munster bends.
Jeez. We tried to warn you.
Yeah, I know. Terry even said to slowly come back, but I can't. I can't come back slow.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Come back
still
hard.
In the water. I just watched Derek just go rising out.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm out of here, suckers. Peace. And then I'm the one with air bubbles in my blood.
Yeah.
I went scuba diving one time and like I wasn't having a problem with it, but like my wife like almost like rose all the way back up to the top like very fast because her thing wasn't working right, so she couldn't get down to the bottom and just started like floating right back up.
Floated right back.
The guy had to go and grab her leg and pull her back down.
Well, there's no pulling me back down. I'm coming up to the top. I'm going to have an aneurysm of excitement for Tin Can Man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Season 1, episode 7. IMDb. This is a much more, briefer synopsis. The school supervisor wants to expel Eddie from school. So Eddie and Grandpa make a robot for the school science fair. Oh, it's encapsulated perfectly. This one gets a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb. So it doesn't have as high a rating as the last one, which kind of surprises me.
Yeah. They've all kind of been in that range, haven't they? Like 7.5 to like 8, somewhere in there usually.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing like a 10. We're not getting into the Breaking Bad territory or Better Call Saul territory. We're just the Munsters.
Yeah.
And this episode starts with Herman. And he is stomped. It's got a very interesting camera angle. So new director, new look. Mm-hmm. Looking down the stairs as Herman comes stomping up with the paper in his hand, and he is PO'd. He is upset. He busts in, and Lily's in the bedroom, and Herman busts in, and Eddie is flunked science. Lily can't believe it because Eddie always had it up here, pointing at her head, and Herman says it's about time we gave it to him down here, pointing at his butt. So Herman. We've gone through all the things. He's a lovable idiot, very dumb, very, very dumb. He's a Blue Lives Matter guy, and he's into spanking kids. Herman found some letters from the principal in Eddie's room, and he's obvious. This part, I know this is just like a throwaway dialogue line, but it really tells you how dumb he is. He's obviously been hiding these from us. Well, no shit. You found them.
Yes. What were you doing, Herman? Were you like snooping through his room to find these?
I don't even know. Yeah, how did you find them?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Lily says we never gave him any reason to be afraid of us, which I think was supposed to be a canned laugh. Didn't get one. The canned laugh man said, I'm not lifting that lid.
We make enough other jokes about how people are like end up being scared of the Munsters or scared of Marilyn in weird fashion. Oh, really? So somebody in your own family is supposed to be scared? Yeah, I wouldn't have hit the laugh button either.
But this next line did get the laugh because Herman is very concerned, and he hasn't been so shocked since the last time he sat in Grandpa's chair, which we've seen as an electric chair.
And his eyes crossed for a second too at that point. Like he very weird look on his overall face, and his eyes crossed when thinking about being shocked in the chair.
There's lots of weird looks in this episode. Last one too, and there's lots of weird. You can see like the cuts. Like they had somebody for continuity say, "Well, no, you were staying here," and they cut, and you could see like the little choppiness, or they cut out a piece or whatever. Anyway, yeah. So Herman has a weird look. He's concerned. Lily wants to know what they're going to do, and Herman says they need to go down to school and get to the bottom of this because nothing is better than meeting face to face. Which is like the that face, the one that breaks mirrors, is going to meet a human face.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then
never goes well.
The bass drops and we get the banging theme song. As always, nothing's changed. Keith, what'd you notice in this time?
Oh, nothing extra special at this time. Sorry, I've been trying. I really kind of wish that they would do something a little bit different. Like, I mean, obviously they probably only had enough budget to like film it once, twice at most. But yeah, I kind of would love if there was some little small thing. Yeah, not as like extensive as like a whole ending like the Simpsons do, but just like one little thing, like maybe Lily slaps Grandpa this time when he goes to do it, or when he goes to bite her, or maybe this time Eddie tries to bite her. I don't know, like something other than that. But it always amazes me, like this is all like nobody, every time somebody sees the Munsters, they're like freaking out, or that like they're always confused about Marilyn and get this wrong vibe. They're all clearly leaving the house to go do stuff.
Always,
like they are clearly interacting with society on a regular basis. But when the episode comes up, it's monster, person who can't understand why, like, she scares everyone out. Like, it's very weird to me that the opening is like this. Like, you just introduce them like hanging out around the house, or even like showed because I think the Addams Family one is they just show the like clips from the show as they're introducing people. That kind of would have worked a little bit better as opposed to just leaving you to like these like very open-ended questions.
I always liked when a show didn't show clips and had like a very scripted and specific opening. I always thought it was like it to me it felt like they cared more.
I think it's weird because we don't usually get to see like their life beyond the house. But I don't know, there's something charming about just seeing each of them like interact with each other, and the Herman's goofy face every time kind of makes me like chuckle a little
he's
bit
always so excited that he's married to Lily. And
maybe if they all came into like the kitchen for breakfast.
Well, I guarantee
that would no, I'm talking like that being like the opening, like they all come in, like she kisses him, and then he does the goofy grin as he sits down, and
that's very 80s 90s right there, like Charles in Charge almost, where they all come in there.
It's
at the dinner table.
Because then you don't get that vibe, you don't get that feel that wow, these people are out there in the real world all the time. Why is everyone thrown off by them?
Yeah. Last episode, the guy climbed a tree.
He did.
So we're here. Banger finishes, and we are at the Mockingbird Heights Elementary School. There's a man at the desk. We don't know who he is. And he is standing. And there's another guy staying at the desk. And then, so the guy behind the desk goes, "Come on, Taggart. Don't you think you're being a little too harsh on the boy?" And this dude standing up, he's kind of got like a grizzled cop look to him. He's like, Eddie Munster should be expelled, which I'm like, holy cow, what did Eddie Munster do? He's just failing science. That's not grounds for expulsion. This guy has got it out for Eddie Munster. So Eddie Munster must have done something, right?
His parents haven't even answered those letters.
Yeah. But the man at the desk is like, it's grammar school, dude. Chill. You aren't a prison guard anymore. This is a grammar school. So they got a prison guard to work there from grammar school. Natural progression. Changing career, totally 100% acceptable. It was just like they had to make the point. Like, this is a grammar school. You are clearly in prison guard mode.
And he clearly is. He has that gruff, angry voice. He's an intense man.
Yeah. He's like the truant officer type guy who goes and
he's not even. He's beyond that. He's like a special investigator.
Yeah.
And he even said, "My methods would be better. Would get results." Like,
what's this guy gonna do? If you would use more of my tactics, you wouldn't have people like Eddie Munster here. What tactics? Like,
what's this guy bringing? He's going to waterboard the kids. So he's the guy behind the desk, which is the principal. We still don't know his name. He says, "I don't care if your brother is a member of the Board of Education. I am running the school, not you." So there's a little tension here. And he says, "I'm going to tell you there's a perfectly good reason why the Munsters haven't answered my letters. They're letters. That's why they haven't answered them.
Yeah,
call the motherfuckers. Calling. Pick up the phone. You got one on your desk. Call the Munsters."
We got 2 separate calls this evening from our kids' school. It's like an automatic recording thing, but they called twice today.
Just call them. Yeah. And then this dude, the Taggart, he says, "That's exactly what Dillinger's principal said." I'm like, all right. And so so the principal's like, "Well, what do you think? Leave it to me. I'll go out there and put a good scare into those Munsters," which got a canned laugh. Yeah, but they got the canned laugh because he's going to go scare those Munsters. And then we cut to Herman. He's still very upset. And they're grilling Eddie. The whole family is. And then he's like, "Why don't you show these notes?" And then Eddie says, "I guess I didn't want you to know I was failing science, sir." So Eddie, very good boy, very proper, very well stuff. He didn't want his parents to know that he's failing because it's embarrassing. I get it. You don't want to let down your parents.
Yeah, when your grandpa's got a full lab and he obviously built your father, like science should be in your blood, kid.
Yeah. Then there's like lots of weird conversation here. Well, he's like, "Don't you want to follow in your father's tracks?" Which I think was supposed to be a funny line, but didn't work for me in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
But Herman,
he's no scientist.
Yeah. Herman says, "I'm going to suspend your privileges." And
these are like, great.
Oh no more standing in the closet. Oh shit. Herman is tough.
Yeah.
No more sleeping in Spot's cage. Oh man. Which to me sounds more exciting than the closet.
Standing in the closet.
You have to go to bed every night while it's still dark, which always I find that weird because he goes to human school.
It's the exact same thing I wrote down on. So if he doesn't go to sleep until it's suddenly daylight, like how long is this kid up? He's probably exhausted in school. That's why his grades dropped.
That's why he's failing.
I mean, I remember I get up my daughter for school and it's still dark. So Eddie's still awake when it's time to go to school. But Grandpa is like, "Slow down, Herman." Grandpa's very concerned. He's like, "Don't you think you're being too harsh? It's a little severe. You're positively inhuman," is what he says. Because you know why he's inhuman?
Because he's a Frankenstein's monster.
Hell yeah. Herman grills Eddie more about his project. He's like, "You should be doing this school project, this science fair. What is the deal?" And Eddie's trying to explain that he's building a robot. And Herman's like, "No, shut your mouth. No more excuses. Go get started on this thing right now." And he pounds the mantle and the house falls apart again. So that's more of Herman's thing. He smashes stuff. Shit falls from the ceiling.
This is becoming a trend. He likes to hit things and things shake. And it's kind of like everybody's like, "Whoa, this is awkward." And then,
it's always awkward. And he should turn to a mirror and have it break right there. Because you know why? He's a Frankenstein's monster. Ugh, he's grotesque.
He's so grotesque.
So now we cut ahead, and Herman is reading a book called "I Died Laughing." You don't know it's not. You don't know who it's by. You don't know what it's about. But he is cracking up.
Yeah.
And Lily is standing next to him, mixing something in a bowl.
Right. So I actually was like, because they've dropped in like things before that were like, like the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing.
Sure.
And they dropped these things in. So I was like, okay, let me look up I Died Laughing as far as a book to see if this is an actual thing. Well, there is a book called that, but it's from 2010. So obviously not the same one. But this one is called I Died Laughing, Funeral Education with a Light Touch.
Oh, that actually plays in here.
Yeah, the book proves that dying can be a laughing matter. Dear Abby.
Dear Abby.
That's the quote on the thing. So I did think, yes, it not to get too far, but it does play into this to some extent. And I'm like, wow, that's weird that's the same title of the same book that he's checking out there. I was also equally disappointed though to find out like I couldn't find a book from like 1960 something that was called I Died Laughing. Because I thought they were just pulling some kind of like a pop culture thing in at the time.
I wish it was that people would have been like, oh, I know that book. I had it on my shelf. Nope. So he's reading I Died Laughing. And Herman says, well, it's a joke book, right? And then he says, listen to this one. It'll kill you. And this is a point where Lily goes, well, it's a little bit late for that. Because you know why? She's a vampire and vampires are dead.
She's dead canonically in the show. Yeah. Yes.
She's the
undead. Answer some questions. Yeah, she is indeed some sort of undead creature. She's not a witch unless she's an undead witch.
I mean, you can be a vampire and a witch, right? I mean, to me, a witch seems like a profession, and a vampire is what you are.
It's like a type of being. Yeah.
Like if you're a vampire, you could be a vampire and a clerk at 7-Eleven. You could be a vampire and an accountant. You could be a vampire and a bus driver. And you could be a vampire and a witch.
All right.
See, you know what? I mean, that's how I think. So maybe she is a witch.
She's probably both, yeah. She's always messing with that cauldron.
She is. And she's always cooking up stuff, which witches, I imagine, would do. So Herman says a joke. This will kill you. He says this joke, and I'm going to apologize in advance because it's terribly sexist. I just invented something to keep the inside of my car quiet. Beat. Pause. It fits right over her mouth. Yep. Lily, not abused.
No.
She looks at him and doesn't crack a smile. I wish she would have hit him with a spoon or dumped the batter on his head. Nothing.
Yeah.
She just
I love her reaction to the joke. Yeah.
And then Herman's, I'm going to tell you another one. Two men are walking. Lily stops them. I'm like, oh, enough of this shit. Why do you read that silly book? She says. And he's like, it's not silly. Besides, it's important nowadays to have a sense of humor. So I guess in the 60s, people weren't laughing enough. Like, you just got to, laugh more. Have a bunch of celebrities sing Imagine. Do whatever, right?
That'll cheer me up.
Yep. And he noticed it down at the parlor. Like, okay, I think this has been brought up before, the parlor.
That's a clue.
At lunch, all the guys are laughing, but when I walk over, they stop. Like, whoa, we're looking into Herman's outside the house life.
Yes,
he's at the parlor, the barber parlor. We don't know what's going on. But the guys, there's multiple guys.
He's got a crew that works with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the parlor, don't know where it is. And then Liz's like, whoa, speaking of work, you're going to be late again. And Herman's like, you're right. They're starting to call me the late Herman Munster. You know why? Because he's dead.
He's a Frankenstein monster.
Hell yeah, he is. So Herman says he has to take 2 hours off to go talk to the principal. And then, well, where is Eddie? Well, he's in the lab working on his science project. Cut 2. Eddie and Grandpa and Marilyn are building a robot out of tin cans and an oil drum. It's interesting. And Eddie hopes
beans. Yeah, cans of beans.
Cans of beans.
Succotash.
Very, very succotash, very peculiar collection of cans.
Yes.
So Eddie hopes it will help with the science fair, and Marilyn's like, well, I'm sure it will. And Marilyn's very supportive. I like Marilyn a lot. She's just like, she's in almost every scene. She's like rah-ing or helping out. And I like that.
Except for when like Herman needs somebody to back him up, say he's not too fat. Then she got all quiet.
She's but, like, Uncle Herman, you're a lard. So Marilyn is sure that, this will help Eddie for sure. And he's like, Eddie's very humble. He's a very polite young man. He's very respectful to his parents. So I didn't want you to know I was failing, sir. And now he's like, well, I don't know if this will count because Grandpa helped him. Grandpa's like, well, no, I was just supervising. Eddie has a naturally mechanical mind, which I don't know what that means. Like I think it got a snicker from the can. It's like, all right, cool. So now, I wrote this and I put an exclamation point at the end. Herman's at work.
Yes.
He's surrounded by flowers. And so I'm like, he works at like a funeral home. That's where. See,
I thought it was a flower shop at first. I was like, this is the weirdest thing. Why is he working here? But then there's some clues towards the end of the scene. I'm like, this is not a flower shop.
But he's on the phone. He's surrounded by flowers, mostly lilies. He says he can't get away, but you don't know who he's talking to. He's just on the phone. It's like, I can't get away. We're just too busy. People are dying to get in here.
This still hadn't crossed my mind that this was a funeral parlor.
But that's like one of the oldest funeral parlor jokes in the world. And then we cut to Marilyn. We're like, okay, he's talking to Marilyn. Marilyn asks if she should cancel the appointment. Herman's like, oh no, we don't want to look unreliable. We already haven't answered these letters. We have to go to this meeting. Asked Lily to go. Well, Lily's at the dentist getting her teeth filed. So we know Lily does all sorts of shit. She buys cars. She gets her teeth filed. No problem. Herman,
an invisible man drives her to most of those appointments.
Yeah, got all sorts of shit going on. So she suggests that Grandpa can go. Herman's like, well, Grandpa never goes out in the daytime because he's a vampire. But Lily goes out in the daytime, no problem. And as we'll see, Grandpa goes out in the daytime, no problem as well. So
Lily's a daywalker. Yeah.
Marilyn says, well, I'll go. You got Blade getting her teeth sharpened. Grandpa stays inside. I'll go take care of it. Herman's like, what? Oh, I couldn't ask. Oh, you're so great. Thank you so much. I have to get off the phone because a funeral is starting. He doesn't say funeral. It's like, remember in the car episode where they didn't say hearse?
Yeah.
They don't say funeral. They just call it the parlor.
Yeah.
Right? They just show flowers.
But
people are dying to get in here.
Was a funeral home referred to as a parlor a lot more in the 60s?
Maybe. It might be.
Probably, yeah.
But then there's like funeral music playing in the background. It's like they're getting started. And then Marilyn has the line of the episode, I think. And she goes, well, that's okay, Uncle Herman. We all have to go sometime. And then I appreciated that line. Then, so Herman hangs up, smells the flower, which is Lily, and then goes. That's it. I don't know why they had him smell the flower. Like,
he's very like he smells it, and then he kind of like, ooh, like I don't. Does Lily smell like lilies? I don't know.
I don't know. So then we get Marilyn and Eddie at school. They're walking down the hall. The bell rings, and Marilyn tells Eddie to run along because she's going to talk to the principal, Harold Balding. And then we finally learn his name. And he's like, oh, he's kind of scary. And Marilyn smiles, whatever, blah, blah. She knocks on the door, and here, come in, please. Cut to the Munster house, and the hard-ass Taggart is there, and he's opening up the front door by himself, I guess. I don't know. But then Grandpa comes scuttling around. What's that?
It's like they kind of like flip flop your expectations. It's a cool transition between scenes. I think that was good.
This is a new director, and it did some new things, new camera angles, that little switch. I like that. Come in, Munster house opening. Oh, if they would have cut to inside the Munster house and the door opening, right, to show Taggart, that would have been good. So the door's opening. Grandpa comes around and greets him. It's like, are you Eddie's father? No, I'm his grandfather, blah, blah, blah. So the man comes in and he says he's Taggart, juvenile investigator for the Board of Education. Don't know what that means, but it sounds official, right?
It does.
And he's come up to check up on Eddie Munster. Pause, a little beat here, environment-wise. So, got to come check out this house. And the house, in shambles, always.
Oh, it's trashed. A dump. I think
dirt everywhere.
And because Grandpa's like, oh, they're out, but I'll show you around.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taggart is walking through all the cobwebs made out of asbestos. Just the look of death all over the place. All my life, I've never seen a house in this condition. And I knew what was coming next. Because Grandpa goes, oh, thank you. Right? Like, very cordial about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to believe my daughter does this all by herself.
That actually is. I'm amazed that she actually does. I thought that was like its natural state, but the fact that she has to set up everything like that, that is actually impressive. That
was in another episode because Herman's like, I got to go out and scare up rent every day. And she's like, she has to take care of the house. So I wonder if she has like a reverse vacuum, that just blows shit out of it.
Yeah, just shoots dust and I don't know, spider webs and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like especially back in episode 1, when the babysitter, she takes a nap and she wakes up and she's like coated in webs. So that there must be like a spider, like a very large spider someplace in the house also that is continuing to spin these out as well.
Well, there's also, we know there's a very large mouse in the house somewhere.
Oh, yes.
So this very weird exchange comes up, right? Grandpa has to feed the clock because the clock makes noises.
Chow time.
The raven makes noise. He goes to feed the clock, and then he feeds piranhas, like a cow's leg, maybe.
But hold on, we see him and he's feeding the raven, and he goes, "Do you need more?
Never more.
Never more."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then he feeds the piranhas. He puts the cow legs in there, and then just bubble. And he pulls out the skeletonized cow bone.
There is no fish in that tank. I backed it up and looked again. There's no fish there, not a piranha or not a goldfish either.
Which is what he says.
Grandpa says
like,
it is. Yes.
It's hungry for a goldfish. And then we cut back to Marilyn and the principal. Very cozy, might I add. Very
cozy. Yes.
The principal is all up on Marilyn.
Yeah, he is a fan of hers. Yeah.
Yes, he is. And Marilyn explains it all to the principal. It's like, he's got it, blah, 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 doing this. And then she mentions he's been doing poorly because she's been spending so much time working on this robot for the science fair. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to Taggart and Grandpa in Grandpa's dungeon, and he's proud. And he asks him what he thinks of this robot. What do you think? Oh, no, I'm not on the robot, just on the dungeon. He's like, I do some of my experiments down here.
Oh, yes.
It's like, what are these restraining straps for? Well, some of my experiments don't like it. Like, that's grim.
It's dark. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that line, actually.
Yeah. So now Grandpa shows Taggart the robot. It's like, check this thing out. Taggart is not impressed at all. He's like, look at this. It's just like succotash cans and bean cans and oil cans. Grandpa's like, well, I'll turn it on. Taggart does not care. He does not care about the fact that this thing robot. Like, if I were at least Taggart, I'd be mildly curious as to what will happen when Grandpa turns it on, right? Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to investigate. This is part of it. Yeah.
His mind was made up before he got there. He didn't even. He wasn't trying to investigate.
That's true.
But this is the 60s, and this guy says he built a robot, and he shows it to you. This isn't like he doesn't have. It isn't the 80s, and he's got that little robot from the Nintendo, and it's not. And it's not Osmo, or it's not. It's not even a Will Smith. Right? Wasn't he a robot? Or it doesn't.
iRobot? Is that what you're thinking of?
I don't know.
I mean, Taggart's basically there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Taggart's going to like plant some evidence there of some sort to incriminate Eddie. He's a dirty
hates
cow.
Eddie. We've already gotten to this. This is like episode 1 when the dailies hated the Munsters, even though they didn't interact with them. Mm-hmm. This guy hates Eddie Munster simply because he's failing science, which is a very normal thing to have happen. Mm-hmm. But so Taggart sees this robot, unimpressed, doesn't care if it works. And he says, any child from an environment like this one doesn't have any place in our school system. And I'm just like, man, this guy is an asshole.
Yeah,
he is straight up.
He's so brutal for like teaching like elementary school kids.
Yeah, an environment like this, a loving grandfather, at least, a dirty house. Yes, lots of people have dirty houses.
The grandpa's been nothing but nice. He's weird, but he's been
even grandpa's
nice.
Like, even after meeting me and seeing him, you are kicking him out of school. Seeing him being the robot, Taggart's like, hell yeah, your robot sucks. So Grandpa goes, sick him. He turns on the robot, and then the robot goes after him. I'm like, wow, this was in the bag the whole time. He could have set that robot to do whatever.
I love Taggart. This grandpa thing.
Taggart punches the robot, which is I thought the crazy part.
Right in the gut, right? And it does nothing. It just hurts his hand.
Somebody turns on Grandpa. Grandpa is willing to kill if at the moment's notice. He tries to kill that man when he turns into a dog form.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, he doesn't like this guy. Well, he can turn into a bat. He can turn into a dog. He can turn into chopped liver. No, let's turn the robot on this time.
Sick him, yeah.
But we've established that Grandpa is a vampire who is very good at inventing things. Mm-hmm. He invented the enlarging ray or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Invisible ink, and then now this one. Right? So he made a robot with Eddie that can kill. Yep, he's like, get him. And then so Taggart punches, no good, runs, gets caught in some cobwebs. Okay. The front porch fights back and hits him.
Now he's running through those cobwebs of a path that he just walked through also. Yes. So that's why I keep thinking that there's got to be a spider that is living there someplace in the house replacing these things. Like they're all spider webs.
Ripped out. Yeah, he just the spider puts them back. I did like that the front porch like hit him as he ran out. Mm-hmm. So the house is fighting back, which has happened in the past. I like that. Mm-hmm. So now we're back. Marilyn and the principal getting super cozy still, and the principal's like, "Well, after meeting you, I feel, yeah, Mr. Taggart, he may have been a little hasty, right? Mm-hmm. Like, nobody that has you in the family can be bad because." Let's do it.
They are like really close together. Right?
Yes,
like,
I found it very creepy.
They're like staring in each other's eyes.
All up on Marilyn.
Really creepy, yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, my aunt and uncle will be so glad to hear you giving Eddie a second chance." And he says, "Any boy interested in science enough to build a robot deserves a second chance. I want that, gentlemen, on my tombstone." So maybe people will think, "Oh, he's come back from the dead." I won't be. So Mr. Balding reminds Marilyn to have Eddie bring his robot to the science fair tonight because they're doing an exposition or whatever. And he is excited to meet the Munsters face to face, just like Herman said at the top. Got to meet face to face. Make this count. So Taggart returns, and he looks like those two sewer workers or the two utility workers. He's beat up, dirty, hat on half, way off his head. And Balding says, "Good grief, Taggart! Don't tell me you've become a beatnik at your age." So beatniks were dirty, apparently. And he's like, "I just came from the mustards. I'm lucky I escaped with my life. Any boy from that background has got to be a delinquent. His grandfather looks like a fat Jack the Ripper."
So mean.
I know.
Does that mean Jack the Ripper was a skinny penguin?
I guess.
Yeah.
But who knows who Jack the Ripper looked like, right? Just assume it's Grandpa.
I could see it, honestly.
But then Balding's like, Taggart, this isn't a reform school. We can't expel every student you don't like. It'd just be you and the janitor, which I enjoyed. I thought that was funny. And then Taggart's like, nah, this Eddie Munster, he's different, man. This kid fails science and he lives in a dirty house. He's up to no good. But Balding's like, his cousin convinced me to give Eddie a second chance. Herman's coming home. He walks up to his house reading this book. He's laughing at it. He runs into the front door because he can't look. And Grandpa, and he walks in and Grandpa's working on the robot, right? Mm-hmm. And he says, say ah. And Herman goes, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's trying to put oil in his mouth.
Yeah. But then Herman freaks out and mistakes the robot for company, right? So because Herman's dumb as hell. And Grandpa is like, oh, I'm sorry. You didn't tell me you had a guest. Which makes me think that, like, he thought they were intimate. Right? Because Herman really freaks out like he walked in on them doing something.
Oh, I hope that's what he thought. That's amazing.
Right? That's what it felt like. Herman's like, whoa, sorry, Grandpa. I didn't know you were going to bone this robot.
Grandpa made a bot for something.
Yeah.
This wasn't Eddie's after all.
Yep. But then, so the robot shakes Herman's hand. And it's like, it's positively amazing. If his head was a little bit flatter, he'd look absolutely human.
You know why?
Because Herman is a flat head because he's a Frankenstein's monster. That's right. But I don't know.
By the way, back when they're at the principal's office, doesn't Taggart say something about a flat head being the sign of a criminal or something like that too?
I think that's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that's the next, right? He look absolutely human. Then we cut to Taggart. He's pacing in Balding's office still. And he's like, I've seen that robot. It's only a hunk of junk, but it's a menace to society. It's got a flat head, and that's the sure sign of a criminal type.
That's right. To be fair, that robot did try to kill him. So
I can't blame him for that, but he was provoked. He provoked the robot.
Yeah.
Balding's like, listen, I'm going to see for myself tonight. And Taggart, if you're lying, it's your job. And then Taggart's like, hey, my brother is on the Board of Education. And he says, I don't care if he's the governor. This Balding's taking no shit.
Yeah.
And so Taggart leaves.
Is it just me? Does the music get like super intense?
It does.
The I don't care if your father's the governor's like boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
That was intense. Like the tone felt very serious all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Oh, the principal, he's like, I'm at Maryland. I don't care if he's the governor. Like,
I have a chance. I may be a married man, but this.
I told her I'd get Eddie back into school. The good things are going to happen for me.
So Taggart leaves the office, and then he stops and he ponders, and he says aloud that his only job security is making sure that robot doesn't work. I'm like, okay. It's so weird. It's like, oh man, that robot's a good junk, but I've seen it. It works. I got to stop that robot. And then he wishes he stayed a prison guard because there's a better class of people. Like, what an asshole, right? This kid gets a chance to like help shape kids' lives, and he hates kids. So whatever. So then we get the second sighting ever of the Munster Mobile. What's it called?
The Munster Coach.
The Munster Coach pulls up at the school. Herman is driving, and Lily is upset because they're late. They've already started, and the reason they're late is because Herman was reading that stupid fucking joke book.
You can't stop reading in the middle of a joke, Derek.
Yeah.
Like, you should know that.
Stop reading in the middle of a joke.
This whole joke book has been very vague as to why this is happening. Like, so far in this episode, I've been watching this joke book keeps coming up. I'm like, so is this like some sort of weird B plot that doesn't make any sense? Because there's been really it's been setting up, I feel like, but no payoff for a very long time.
Yes.
I feel like he was reading it so that he could like get better in conversation and tell jokes with the guys down at the parlor.
Oh, he does say that. That's true. Yeah.
He just wants to talk to the whole crew at the funeral home. Like, how many people work at a funeral home? I've been to a handful of funerals in my time, and there's like 2.
That's I don't think as many. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
It would have been nice if he like tried jokes out in like casual conversation, maybe, or something. Like,
yeah, you don't get any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But they pull up. Grandpa's like, "You go park the car. We'll go inside with the robot." And Herman's like, "Okay." So it's a good way to separate, so nobody sees Herman, right? We can't have Herman be seen by anyone. So Taggart runs up and he sees them through the window, and he's like, "I'm going to fix this right now." So Taggart goes out. He apologizes. "I'm sorry about before," and he's walking around the robot, and he realized, "Oh, I'm sorry. I realized that he must come from a very unusual family," which, of course, gets another thank you because they're weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they like being weird. But Taggart walks around the robot, happens to find a giant opening on the robot. It's like a trap door. It's like a door that opens up.
Yep.
And then he throws a wrench inside, right? It's like a happenstance wrench. Throws it in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there was something wrong with if my TV did something weird or if I just zoned out for a quick second or something.
Possible.
I don't remember seeing this.
Oh, yeah. Taggart walks around. He's like, "I apologize." The usual family walks around inspecting the robot, and there's like a hatch on the back of the robot. He opens it up, throws a wrench inside. Nobody sees this happen. Closes the hatch, comes walking around, and they're like, "Well, won't you stay for the science fair?" And he's like, No. I gotta go. I'm gonna go over Eddie's records to make sure he gets what's coming to him. Very ominous.
That is,
but
nobody's
the family
good way.
Pleased. They're like, "Oh, that Mr. Taggart, he can't be that bad." Eddie turns on the robot, which up at this point got there somehow. I assume walked, but I guess not. And it makes noise and it starts to smoke because that's what the Munsters do. They make things smoke. And Grandpa says it's the first time he's seen the robot with indigestion. That's 2 episodes in a row with indigestion jokes.
Maybe that's like gonna be a new Grandpa trope. He just talks about indigestion every episode.
Indigestion, plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Inside is the science fair, and there's a little girl just finished reading an essay on what Einstein's theory of relativity means to me. And she was like maybe 7, right? So that's the funny. Oh, she's a little. That's funny. And it's a girl. Hilarious. Which is a theme in this episode. Then we cut to the Munsters. They're backstage. The robot still isn't working, and he thinks it's the carburetor. And Grandpa's only answer is an emergency carburetorectomy is coming up. So Herman and Grandpa carry the robot off. Then we go back to the kid on stage with his invention of electric chopsticks. And I wanted to see these things do something.
Yes.
He came out with giant chopsticks that are electric. And what do? We'll never know. Because in the back room, there's this creepy looking head. It's all I can have it written here. What?
Jesus. Like, who cares about anything else going on in the scene?
Doesn't matter.
Even though it's super weird. What is the mascot of the Mockingbird or the whatever the name of the school was? What is their mascot? That's the only thing, because it looks like a giant mascot head. It is creepy as hell.
Can anyone? I have a very specific way in which I would describe it. Can anyone else want to describe it?
I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So imagine the video game NBA Jam had an unlockable character of Marilyn Monroe, and then you enabled big head mode, and then in the middle of the game, your Marilyn Monroe character died at center court. People came, hauled the corpse off, and then made a death mask of that. That is what is in the room.
Yes, that is. I could not have explained that any better.
It is a giant Marilyn Monroe-ish looking head with a gaping mouth. It is so weird.
It's so weird that when we were discussing, like when we were messaging back and forth earlier, and Terry, you said you hadn't watched the episodes yet. I sent Derek a separate picture going like, I'm not spoiling this for Terry, but what the hell is going on with this head?
I don't know. It's the only thing I could see. The only thing. It's this giant head in the background. It's on a shelf.
Which is insanely distracting when there is something else very weird going on.
Oh, yeah.
And you are just constantly looking back at the shelf. Because I kind of thought maybe it would eventually do something.
It was very specifically placed, right? It was there. It was in the center of every shot. What was it? I don't know. It was so weird. So weird. But there it is on the shelf. And Grandpa, he didn't notice it. He's able to do what he has to do. He's got a stethoscope on. He's shaking his head. Oh, no. Herman's impatient and says Eddie's going to be called out soon. Grandpa says, I didn't interfere when you were being put together. But you know why? Because he's a Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. That's why, yeah.
And Grandpa, Eddie, and Marilyn are doing surgery on the robot. They've masked up. They've scrubbed up. They got gloves. Grandpa, can opener. Pliers. Herman looks distressed. Grandpa peels open the robot and goo pours out.
Oh, God, that was kind of disturbing.
It was just like white goo. And Herman faints. All right, fainting spell. That's why he's done 2 episodes in a row now.
He always faints when he sees oil.
Yeah, he's squeamish. He always faints when he has sight of oil. And Grandpa looks at the clock, and I thought that was going to be something because he looked at the clock, and then I don't know if any time passed, and they come back.
Yeah, about an hour.
About an hour. Oh shit! I must have zoned out on that.
I rewound it like 3 times, and I was watching it because I was like, at first I was like, I saw it do like the thing we see it like it just kind of slowly fast forward. You see what the new time is, and at first I was like, did they just do that for 5 minutes? But no, I went back and looked. I'm like, I think they just moved that a full hour ahead.
Wow, that's wild.
That's a long time. How long is
Which, especially when they're like, we have to hurry up because Eddie's going to be on soon.
Yeah. And then a whole hour passed.
I mean, and we still couldn't see the Chinese chopsticks. It's been an hour.
Nope. So, hour, rivet. And then you hear applause in the background. Lily opens the door and sees the principal calling out the last exhibit of the night. Finally, a robot built by young Eddie Munster. Marilyn says someone will have to go out and install like they do in those old Don Amici movies. Great. Who cares? Herman wakes up and it's like, is it over? And then everyone agrees that this is the idiot we'll send out there to stall.
Yeah, this is the guy you'd want. Right?
He serves no
now
purpose.
We get the whole payoff though of he's reading a joke book for the entire episode.
So principal is out calling for the robot. Where's the robot? I don't know. Blah, blah. Herman doesn't know how to stall them. He gets stage fright. Lily's like, well, tell jokes from your joke book. Grandpa says, it's your big break, Hollywood, the palace. Herman agrees to go out, but he's not doing it for the fame or the fortune or even be the life of the party. He's doing it for Eddie. He pats Eddie on the head with his unhairy hand. I wrote that down.
Yep. Because, no hair this time.
No hair on that hand. Mm-mm. So, and then he comes on the stage and the principal's like, here it is now. Everyone thinks that Herman's the robot. Herman walks out and everyone gasps. And then Herman says, I've been asked to come out and entertain you. And everyone laughs and applause. They're clapping and laughing. And then this guy goes, amazing. It looks almost alive. And then why can't our Sydney build something like that? He's 16 years old and can barely wave bye-bye. Man. Everybody's very bad. Judging in this show. Yeah. And then Herman says this, and it made me laugh. It's my first time doing a public appearance, so you'll have to bear with me if I don't function so well. And which would be what a robot would say, making its first appearance. Everyone cheers. Wild. They're all in on Herman because they think he's a robot. Mm-hmm. And then Herman's telling a story about Abraham Lincoln.
Okay, this was so confusing. I tried to write this down, and it was like mind-boggling. Whatever he was trying to say, I couldn't understand what he. Yeah, is that even a joke?
But then people laughed. They're like, how they're laughing at this Abraham Lincoln story.
Abraham Lincoln said, "If I was taken out on a train, it'd be more honorable than walking, or something like weird.
Somehow be ridden out on a rail."
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay,
he doesn't. I only wrote the first part down. Abraham Lincoln was asked if he found appearing in public ceremonies annoying. And then somehow, it goes into riding the rail and how it's more convenient or something. I don't know. But people loved it. The crowd was wild.
Oh man, they did. So we cut back to Grandpa, and he finds the wrench, and they all know immediately it was Taggart.
Yeah, and so this threw me off because I missed Taggart throwing the thing in there. I was like, when did he get a chance? I saw him walk up, say something, and then walk away. I'm like, when did he get a chance to put something in there? It was very confusing for me at that point.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's the Munsters, no problem.
Yeah. We cut back. Herman is retelling that sexist joke from before, and the crowd erupts. Even the women are laughing at this. Everyone's laughing at this joke. Well, it's a robot told it. It can't be sexist. Robots don't have gender. So they're all laughing. And then, so Herman, he's feeling it, man. He's like, oh, yeah. So he goes back at stage and he grabs a cane that for some reason is right off stage. Mm-hmm. And he goes back out there. And we cut back. He
makes sure he can balance it on his hand before he takes it out there, too.
Yeah. It's like, well, this cane is sturdy and true. He goes out to dance or whatever. And then we come back to Grandpa and the rest of the family. They're finishing up on the robot. Grandpa says that's all we can do now. It's up to the big mechanic in the sky, which was to me was kind of amusing. I was like, all right, okay, it's in God. Jesus, take the wheel. We got a robot.
Robot Jesus is taking.
Yep. So we come back to Herman. He's on stage. He's dancing. He's telling jokes. A piano's playing. I don't know where the piano came from. The crowd is eating it up, but Herman is very pleased with himself.
I do like this. I love that Herman suddenly is very into performing for
people.
Oh
man. He's putting on the Ritz, man.
His next joke is who's the man with the biggest hat?
The man with the biggest head.
Yep. What joke book is going on here? That's not even.
This sounds like a joke book I bought like in 5th grade at like the book fair. I bought it randomly and it had like stupid jokes like that, like knock knock, who's there? Let us in. It's cold outside. That's that caliber of joke right there.
Yeah,
that's a higher caliber of joke than that one.
Well, at least the man with the biggest head is mildly clever. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but then Grandpa and the family, they're backstage and they're going to bring the robot out now. But they got to get Herman off stage first. So Herman's on stage and he does this amazing, like, Rockettes kick thing going off stage.
He ran back and got a very large hat also.
Yeah.
Then went back out to do that.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. He got the hat. And he's doing the Michigan J Frog dance.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. And he comes back off stage. And people, man, they are going bonkers, man. They're hooting and hollering. They love Herman because he's a robot.
Yeah.
The family's backstage and Grandpa tells Herman, you got to stop. Herman's like, whoa, I can't. They're eating out of my hand. And Lily reminds him it's about Eddie. It's his night. Herman concedes, and he says he's just being a big ham. The crowd is out there cheering and screaming for more, and it's for you, Eddie. It's all for you. He tells Eddie to take the robot out there and kill him. And Lily's like, whoa, don't kill him for real, because this robot is a killer. Herman's like, it's showbiz, Lily. You wouldn't understand, sort of thing.
Herman's an expert at this point.
Yep. Herman, like, that applause went to his head big time. And I like that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
So Eddie starts up the robot and it walks out there and it blows up and it starts to walk out there and it blows up and it crumbles into pieces. It just turns into a pile of rubble instantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't know what to do. Herman says he'll go out and explain it. And he's like, no, this is my job. Eddie, responsible young man. And he goes out on stage.
I've got 2 minutes left on my allotted time that the union says I can actually come out here and act. So let me get in.
Listen, I got 3 lines. Let me do them. So Eddie goes out on stage and he tells the principal the robot exploded backstage. And the crowd is bummed. They're like, no, he's been killing it. And he just blew up. That sucks. Well, the principal says Eddie should still win the special prize. And then Eddie says he doesn't deserve it. But Eddie doesn't speak out loud after that. He just whispers into the principal's ear after this from now on. And the principal's like, well, Eddie doesn't think he deserves it because his grandfather helped. But the principal says honesty should be rewarded. that Eddie is the kind of boy they're proud to have in their school. And everyone applauds because they think Herman was a robot and not a Frankenstein monster. So Lily says that she thinks our Eddie just became a man. And here's the line Grandpa goes, and he didn't have to do it the hard way. Or he did it the hard way, not like you, Herman. So, like, man, I don't understand what they think becoming a man is, but he did it the hard way.
Well, Herman did have to become a man the hard way. You know why?
Yeah, because he's a Frankenstein.
Because he's a Frankenstein's monster.
I actually thought this was actually one of the more clever Frankenstein
like you,
monster
Herman.
jokes.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't really need that. Like you, Herman was a little like, yes, we get that. Okay,
yes. But so then we're getting to the wrap up. Lily and Marilyn are on the couch again, knitting or whatever, and Herman comes in. Where's Eddie and where's my joke book? Those are the two things he's really concerned about. And Lily's like, I haven't seen it. And Eddie's in the basement working on a new project with Grandpa. Another new one. It's amazing how that boy's marks have improved. He's liable to turn out just like me. Herman is very pleased with himself. And then somehow they know that Taggart got sent back to the prison service. Mm-hmm. And then Herman's like, it's men like him that give prisons a bad name. Which could have been the end of the episode right there. But no. We go to Eddie and Grandpa and Robot in the basement. Eddie's reading robot jokes. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. Why do firemen wear suspenders? They hold their pants up. Grandpa is stoked. Stoked. He's like, we're going to be rich. Vaudeville's dead, but we're going to bring it back to life. And then the robot goes, yuck, 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 yuck. And then ding. And then credits.
I want that robot to come back for the next episode.
Oh man, I hope the robot.
I want it to come back a lot. Yeah, like it's helping Lily out around the house eventually.
Mm-hmm. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything to make this show interesting. So that was season 1, episode 7, The Tin Can Man. What'd you guys think?
I like that this one expanded out a little bit more because we saw them at Eddie's school. Herman's got a job. We see he's at, he actually is even at the place working.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a holdover from the previous episode with the whole diet thing that Lily didn't like, but she seemed awfully pissed at Herman most of the episode.
I think it's that joke book.
Yeah, that wasn't helping thing.
No.
But yeah, so I like that they took us out of the house for a while.
Yeah.
And the small time that you do spend in the house, I mean, we get to see, there's a fish, and they have to feed the clock.
Exciting times. What'd you think, Terry?
I like this one a little better than the last one for sure. I think it was pretty good. The ending is where it kind of all came together. I really just loved Herman doing dances and really showboating for the crowd. That was a really great bit. And yeah, like Keith said, the lore, we finally are learning more about Herman's life outside of his home and stuff like that. Very intriguing.
Herman's job at the parlor, very interesting. But Herman really leaning into the performing thing, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was fun.
So great. Yeah, that was a great moment. And even like the weird jokes you were saying, like even the Abraham Lincoln one was like mind-boggling. Like my brain couldn't even process like the words he was putting together, but that almost had its own charm that it was like such a bad joke.
Yeah.
But of course the crowd would love it because it's a robot telling jokes, like, oh, this is amazing. Like,
hell yeah.
Hey, also props to Herman. He's memorized that entire book apparently too, because he is just spouting off every joke in there.
I wonder if that first one was maybe one that he like thought he came up with himself and it was kind of a bomb, but he just, he's like, I don't know. But
a little
that's
too
good.
Sexist.
Yeah. Add more, sexist jokes in. Maybe that'll help his act. I don't know. But it's good. I actually like this one a decent amount. I thought it was all right. Better than the average episode we've watched so far, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. This was probably my favorite episode that we've seen so far.
Wow. Better than Frankenstein Baby.
Well, the Frankenstein's Baby was like, that moment itself, amazing. This one had lots of things to it that I appreciated.
Okay. That's fair.
What is the moment that would have broke the babysitter?
Oh, when she walked into that like backstage area and saw that creepy Marilyn Manson face mask.
Marilyn Manson face mask. Yep. Yep.
I think
Marilyn Monroe.
The beautiful people.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The Marilyn Monroe mascot mask. She would. The three of them doing surgery and dressing up and doing like the whole thing, not going to phase her at all. No. That mask. She just loses her shit.
Disturbing.
I think she would have probably lost it when Taggart kind of like just showed up and started judging everything and being kind of really mean and intense.
Yeah.
And just not listening to reason. I think she might have actually taken the place of the robot and tried.
Kicked his ass right there.
Yeah, just taking him down. It's like, I know this family for years. I've handled it all, and you're acting like this is some sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is bad. They bathe their child in scalding hot water.
I've seen some stuff, man.
I've seen some
You haven't
stuff.
even seen half of it. This is the minimum.
And I think the breaking point is Herman's joke. And it fits over her mouth. And she's been like, that's it. She just scoots away from the table. She's going to have breakfast with the Munsters. She's like, nah, I can't. I can't do anymore. She throws $2 on the table as tip from Lily. And then walks out.
That's a restaurant.
Yep. She's just like, I can't do it. Can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Not cool, man. Not cool.
She loved the Abraham Lincoln joke, but that one.
I think that one broke me inside a little bit.
Yeah. That Abraham Lincoln was like, what?
I rewound it like 3 times to try and write it down. And my brain, I was trying to comprehend it at the same time. I just had to stop. It's like, this isn't worth it. It's taking me way too long to try and figure out what he's trying to say.
Too much work.
Yeah.
Way too much work.
It's like a puzzle. Seriously, that joke was wild.
Yeah. And everyone laughed. It wasn't funny in any way, but everyone laughed. So, I don't know. Maybe Abraham Lincoln was still fresh on people's minds 100 years later.
Wasn't quite, it wasn't. It was still in the zeitgeist, yeah.
100 years later. Yeah. All right. Well, that was Tin Can Man. Man, that was one heck of an episode. New director, you could tell. New looks, new takes. I liked it. Keith.
So this is an episode that you actually liked.
Yeah,
So
I actually liked this. I mean, and it wasn't good, but of all the episodes, I'm like, this one's all right. I could see this is like maybe they're starting to feel themselves out. They've got a groove, maybe.
Okay.
Like here's the Munsters' voice, Herman hamming it up, and everyone else trying to work around him. That's what it is.
They just got confirmed that they're getting the full season run. That's what it was.
That's what. Yeah.
Now they can relax.
Saving their gold.
Yep. All right, Keith, what you got going on?
Oh, same thing I got every week. I am watching Pro Stars with plenty of my friends. Terry, you've been on already. Derek, you'll be on a future episode. That was great, wasn't it? My other podcast where I continue to refuse to watch anything within the last 30 years of TV.
TV peaked in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, what about you, Terry? Anything?
Just the normal. Run the rail, check it out if you feel like it. Maybe podcast. The classic tropes. We do genres, and themes, that kind of thing. So it's fun. But besides that, no, just check out. That was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? Pro Stars? Was it great? I'll never tell.
Oh, I will. It's like capital N, capital O. No. Me? Nothing.
All right.
Yep.
Has anybody found you?
Oh, hell no. Nobody said.
Man.
Nobody has claimed that 12-pack yet. But in all fairness, as we record this, only one episode has aired. So, and that wasn't even the episode with the challenge in it.
You're right. We still got some time. I just like to bring it up. I don't want to. We could let him see behind the curtain, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
Sneaky. Sneaky. I'm going to tell you what, if I have to buy a bunch of 12-packs after this, I'm going to be very disappointed in life.
I just want to keep reminding the listeners that that's a thing.
I'll have to pull back that offer a little bit. I'll buy you a Swisher Sweet. Just pulling it back. All right. And as we always say,
ingenuity,
imagination,
and intelligence simply do not work. That's why I'm taking matters in my own hands. We're the Munster Hunters. The Munster Hunters are Derek Glascock, Keith Gawla, and Terry Vickroy. Keith is the host of the Pop-Up Filmcast, and that was great, wasn't it? Both shows can be found wherever you subscribe to podcasts. For more about Keith's shows, you can follow Pop-Up Filmcast on Twitter at Pop-Up Filmcast. And that was great, wasn't it? At How Great Was That? You can also follow Keith on Twitter at KG3030. Terry is one of the hosts of Run the Reel. It's a movie podcast that does deep dives on films with a theme. You can follow Run the Reel on Twitter at Run the Reel. You can also follow Terry on Twitter at Terry_Vickroy. If you would like more musings from me, you can follow on Twitter at Derek the number 9 and the word 9. Follow Munster Hunters on Twitter at Munster Hunters and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice for more Munster Hunter fun. Munster Hunters is mixed and edited by me, Derek. All original music is composed and mixed by Terry Vickroy, and executive producers are me and Keith Gawla. The Munster Hunters is a Krispy Dodo production.